Okay, so Rich, I will let you go ahead if you want to do an intro on yourself, and then I can go ahead and get started and just kind of ask you a couple of questions about the safe.
I'm just a lawyer with the firm of Phillips Lytle, and I run our firm's venture capital team. And most of our deals are throughout New York State, the upstate New York area.
And so, in regards to our commercialization competition, we give away $50,000 to each of our successful companies that come and win as finalists. So, we get a lot of questions about what does that mean? What does the SAFE document look like? So, Rich, do you want to talk a little bit about, why FuzeHub decided to use the SAFE and what that means for the companies that are interested in applying?
Yeah, well, the SAFE has become kind of the standard early stage investment vehicle for fairly small amounts for early stage companies. I know we have some West Coast people on the call today, and it was, in my mind, it was really a West Coast kind of Silicon Valley innovation. The whole idea of the SAFE, and a lot of you might be familiar with convertible notes, same idea as a convertible note. The FuzeHub invests $50,000 into the company, but at the time of investment, there's no real valuation, there's no dilution, nothing has yet happened. That money sits with the company, and then when a larger investment comes along, a big full venture capital type investment, in our world that means $500,000 or more, then the SAFE gets rolled into that investment, and the SAFE holder, FuzeHub, gets stock in the company at the same terms as all the other investors, same valuation, same preferred terms, whatever they negotiate with the company. FuzeHub gets a 15% discount on the price, which is, again, fairly standard for these types of vehicles. And we do a pretty good job of merging those SAFEs with other SAFEs or convertible notes that the companies have as well. And that's how it works.
And so with that, I know you mentioned about some of the events that might trigger the SAFE to be executed in the financing. What are the typical terms associated with the SAFE?
So with ours, it's if you get investments equaling $500,000, and we're talking stock investments. So investments where you've actually put a price on it. People have invested in your company at a certain price, which implies a certain valuation. We also expect that stock to have what we call standard preferred terms. It's usually not common stock. It's stock with preferred rights that most larger investors are going to want. So in other words, we put off the time of reckoning until the company has gotten this $500,000 or more investment, and then the SAFE just rolls into that. I should say also, the terms of our SAFE, like 99% of the other SAFEs I've seen, at least in the US, pretty much follow the Y Combinator SAFE terms. And I think most people have seen most of them. We made very, very few changes to that document.
And historically, most of the companies that are coming in, small entrepreneurs, pre-revenue less than $100,000, are the SAFEs only used by certain company structures? Is there anything that would potentially be an ineligible structure for the SAFEs?
No, the SAFE, our SAFE, and most of them is written to be pretty agnostic. You can be an LLC, you can be a corporation, S Corp, C Corp, whatever. I will say most of our company, you could even be a partnership, although we don't really see those. I can't remember any of the companies in the commercialization competitions that have not been either a corporation or an LLC, and this SAFE accommodates both of those.
And one of the questions that I think I've seen come in over the years is how will the future investors perceive the SAFE?
Well, the whole idea is that we want future investors to perceive this as just a standard investment that will not only not block later investments, but will be the terms that they see in all other investments. That's why we use the standard SAFE terms. I think the discount rate of the 15% discount is pretty standard. I think actually most people are looking at a 20% discount, so we take a little bit less. There's a valuation cap meaning that if your big transaction is over a certain value, the FuzeHub safe is priced only at the valuation cap. Most safes have such a cap. People will do some arm wrestling as to what that amount should be. Valuation cap has kind of become a surrogate for the actual valuation of the company, though that's not really how it works. But I think ours is pretty standard, and I think the most important thing is where companies have several different types of safes and several different types of convertible notes, which is often the case with our companies. We work really hard when the time comes to convert to make ours fit in with theirs, make it as standard as possible, make it as easy as possible for the new investors to come in.
And so, in keeping in line with that, for the companies that, come to us, whether it's in advance of applying or, once they're actually selected as a finalist and they're actively engaged in investing, is there anything that they need to pay special attention to in the safe?
I would say, again, ours is pretty standard terms. We've had some securities questions about it. FuzeHub is not we're not a venture capital fund, so we don't have $1 billion under management. We're not an accredited investor. We are a sophisticated investor, and it states that specifically in the safe, so that. Regardless of who other investors are, this will still be a private offering under the securities laws, and should not cause any problems after that.
And so, when companies come to us and they already have a valuation determined, and we are, utilizing the safe, is there any comments that you want to make about that in regards to the valuation aspect? I know that you said, this part of it doesn't have one, but do you want to talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of a misnomer. Most of the companies who come to us don't really have a valuation yet. I think they have internal valuations, and they will usually tell us, oh, we got an SBIR, we got this grant, we got this, which they believe adds to the value of their company. But in the investment world, the only way you really have a valuation is if an outside arm's length third-party investor has bought stock or securities in your company at a certain price. That implies a valuation. A lot of people come and have convertible notes with valuation caps or safes with valuation caps, and that is not the valuation of the company. That's really just a term of that. I don't think, I think people sometimes can confuse those terms. If companies have already done actual stock deals, preferred stock, large investment deals, they're probably outside the parameters of this particular competition anyway. So people will come and say, we think we're worth $10 million. And I say, great, I hope you are. But from a VC investment standpoint, that hasn't yet really been triggered.
Okay, and one final aspect of the safe, when people are awarded and we work with them, one of the secondary elements to the safe is that they have a cap table. And sometimes people come to us and they may or may not have one. So do you have any guidance for people on how to develop one if they don't already have one in place?
Yeah, look, a cap table is really nothing more. It's an Excel spreadsheet that lists all of your owners, okay? So you might have two people, 50% each, that's your cap table. The more sophisticated you get, you can, when you have safes and convertible notes and other types of kind of convertible investments, you can also put together an Excel spreadsheet that says, if we did a deal at an $8 million valuation, here's what would happen to all those safes, and here's how the stock would be divided. But we don't really ask for that. All FuzeHub is looking for on the cap table is a list of the investors, with a list of the owners and what percentage they own, and a list of everybody else who's got something that could turn into stock, options, warrants, safes, convertible notes. We're not looking for your traditional cap table where you can tell us if somebody does an $8 million investment, at an $8 million pre, like what happens to everything. So that's the first thing. It's really just a list. I think sometimes people get a little intimidated. The other thing is there's lots of great cap tables out there. If you do have a lot of a lot of different investments, and you want to know what would happen if I did a deal at $4 million or $10 million. What would happen to me as the founder? They're very available. A lot of people are using services like Carta, which I think is terrific and a really good price, at least for small companies. So you can do that as well. So the point is, cap tables are available out there. You can buy them or get a lot of them for free. But we're not looking for something that sophisticated. We just want to know, when this happens, who's everybody who could possibly have an interest in the company.
Thanks. So that covers most of the items that have come across that have been repetitive questions that people have asked. Do you have any final thoughts that you want to share as people kind of gear up for the 2021 competition?
Yeah, the other biggest repetitive question is, why do we have to do this? Why can't you just give us the money? And that was really just, and I say, look, if you'll find somebody who'll give you $50,000, and some competitions are like, then great, go do it. More power to you. We started doing this 5 years ago and took the position that it needed to be a sustainable venture, so that as people become successful, we can take that money and give it to other companies. I think it is also, over that last 5 years, it's kind of become the standard. Most competitions now are either getting warrants or options or notes or something. And that's just, the idea is it's meant to be sustainable. If you swing and you miss, we don't come after you for the money. That's done. But if you do well, and we'd like to share in that and be able to pass it on to the next generation of companies.
All right. Thank you, Rich. At this point in time, I'm going to ask Paige if she doesn't mind to